Hey y'all, it's Megan again, and today we are sewing the Winnie pattern. In this video, I'm going to be doing these pants with the elastic waistband and drawstring. These are the high rise. There's also videos on doing the fitted waistband with the drawstring, and the shorts are mid-rise. And then there's one more video for the fitted waistband and the pocket option. All the options have the front pin tucks on the legs, and they come in shorts, crops, or pant lengths. They also have a mid-rise and high-rise option, and then it comes in youth and adult sizing both. You can use a variety of different fabrics. The ones that I'm wearing and these ones and these ones, they're in a cotton lycra French terry, which I absolutely love. If you're going for something a little more dressy or for like workwear, this is a nylon ponte. So they just look a little nicer and less like sweatpants like these ones. You can also use sweater knits or like a rib knit, but it does need to be a little stable. These ones that have a little more vertical stretch and aren't as stable as the cotton lycra French terry or a ponte, then you're going to want to use an elastic waistband. So in this one, I use the fitted waistband and I just added elastic in there, and we do have a blog for that. We also have blogs for if you want to add the elastic to this one too with a drawstring, if you want to do the elastic waistband with no drawstring, and if you want to remove the pin tucks. Those are all on the blog, so I'll link that down below. If you want to see the full sew through on these cute wide leg pants, then just keep watching. Okay, y'all, let's get started. You are going to need to cut 2 front pieces, mirror images, and you do want to make sure to add the little snips at the top of the pants and then at the bottom hemline. And you also want to mark the front fold line on the right side of both your front pieces. You need 2 back pieces, cut mirror image. And then we're doing the elastic waistband, so you need to cut 1 elastic waistband on the fold and mark all of your casing and your grommet or buttonhole markings. And you also need 3 pieces of elastic and then your drawstring piece if you want to make your own, or drawstring cording. The first step is going to be to prep those pin tucks. So you're going to match your little snips at the top and the bottom, and you're going to fold your front piece all along that front fold line. And then you want to give it a nice press so it holds this crease. I like to use either Best Press or some spray starch to help hold the crease. And then when you're when you're pressing this, make sure that you're using up and down pressing motions and you're not pulling your iron. Depending on what kind of knit you're using, if you're pulling your iron, then you might be slowly stretching out your fabric on accident. So just press it with up and down motions all along that fold line. And then you're going to take it to your machine and you are going to stitch a 1/4 inch away from the fold line. And you can use either a longer straight stitch, or what I'm using here is a triple stitch. And I do like to lengthen the triple stitch a little bit to anywhere between 3 and 3.5, depending on what kind of fabric that I'm using. And you're going to stitch this all the way down the front leg on each of your pieces. Once you have those pin tucks sewn, you're going to press the pin tuck toward the side seam with your iron, and then you're going to baste the pin tuck on the top and on the bottom of the pant on each leg. Then it's time to sew our side seam. So you're going to take 1 back piece and 1 front piece, and you're going to put them right sides together, and I like to align them at the top and then align them at the bottom, and then finish pinning down the leg. And you're going to stitch these two together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance from the top to the bottom hemline to create that side seam. And you're going to do the same thing with your other back piece and other front piece, so you have two legs. And then you are going to stitch the inseam. So again, you are going to place your front and back pieces right sides together, and you're going to align them at the top of the crotch all the way down to the bottom, and then pin the rest in place, and then stitch the inseam together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then do the same thing with the other leg. Next, it's time to stitch the crotch seams. So I have one leg right side out and one leg wrong side out. And I'm going to put the leg that's right side out inside the other so they are right sides together. And I'm going to start pinning them together along the front and back crotch. So you're going to match the inseams and then the top of the front pant and the top of the back pant. And then you're going to stitch them together along this curve with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then you can pull the legs right side out and go ahead and set them aside while we work on our waistband. The first step is going to be to cut a small piece of interfacing, and you're going to press that on the wrong side of the waistband, right where your grommet or buttonhole placements are. And what I like to do is, you can see here, just use some pins in the top and bottom of the marking, and then that way when I press it, it's in the right spot. And then you're going to go ahead and add your buttonholes or your grommets, whichever one you're using. If you really don't want to use either, you can just snip tiny little holes if you want. You do want to make sure, whatever you're using, the grommet or the buttonhole, or you're just adding little snips, that it is between the two casing lines. Then you're going to take your waistband and fold it in half so it is right sides together, and you're going to stitch those short ends together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance so you create a loop. Then you're just going to press your waistband wrong sides together, and you're going to start stitching on the casing lines that we created at the beginning. You're going to stitch on each line and make sure to leave an opening about 2 inches so that we can thread our elastic and drawstring later. I like to use a longer triple stitch here so that the waistband still has stretch. You can also use a long straight stitch, but again, I like to use the longer triple stitch. And you're going to stitch on every single one of these lines that created until you have 4 lines with 2 inches left open on each. Then it's time to thread our elastic. So in the very top casing, you're going to take your piece of elastic, and you can use a bobbin or a safety pin, and you're going to thread the elastic through. And once you have the elastic all the way through, then you're going to take the 2 ends and you're going to overlap them by 1/2 of an inch, and you're going to use a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch to stitch the ends of the elastic together. So that first casing is done. The next casing is going to be the drawstring. I was waiting for mine to get delivered, so I'm going to skip the second one, and I'm going to add the other 2 pieces of elastic to the bottom 2 casings. So you're going to repeat all the same steps of using a bodkin or safety pin to thread the elastic through, And then once you have it through, you will overlap the ends of the elastic by 1/2 inch and use a zigzag stitch to stitch a couple times to hold the elastic together, and then do the same thing on the bottom casing. Once you have all your elastic pieces threaded and your drawstring threaded, then what I like to do is go ahead and try the waistband on to see if anything needs adjusted, if you need tighter or looser elastic. And once you're happy, then you will take it back to your machine and you are going to close those casing openings that we left open to thread the elastic. So using the same stitch that you used prior, which mine was a triple stitch, you will sew that 2 inches closed on each line so that everything is finished. And then you will take your waistband and you will quarter it. You do want to make sure when you're quartering the waistband that you are stretching it so you find the middle and then each side. You are also going to want to quarter the top of your pants, and then you are going to put the waistband right sides together with the pants, and you're going to match your quarter points. I also like to split the quarter points again and to match it, so I make sure that my waistband is going to be evenly stretched along the top of the pants. And then you are going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance and you are going to stretch your band to fit the top of your pants, and you're going to stitch them together. Once you have your waistband stitched on, then you can take it to your iron and give it a nice press. My drawstring cording finally came in, so I used a bobbin to go ahead and thread the drawstring through. And once you have everything sewn on and complete, you can go ahead and press your hem up. The hem is for a 1/2 inch, so you can try your pants on at this point and see if you need to adjust the hem at all. I did a 1-inch hem on these ones because they were a little bit long on me. And once you press and stitch your hem, then your Winnie pants are complete. If you have any questions, you can leave them down below and I will try to answer them. As always, we really love to see what you've sewn up, so please share it in our Facebook group or tag us on Instagram at Made for Mermaids, #Winnie Pattern, #Made for Mermaids Patterns. Until next time, bye.